There's a delicate and often overlooked balance between delivering a witty comeback and executing a truly savage reply that leaves a lasting impact. In the domain of dark psychology, mastering the art of savage replies goes far beyond just delivering a sharp insult. It's about understanding a set of subtle psychological techniques that can manipulate emotions, shift social dynamics, and establish a clear sense of dominance. If you've ever marveled at someone's ability to shut down a conversation or silence a critic with a single devastating remark, you've already witnessed dark psychology at work. It's an art that involves much more than merely responding with quick wit. It's about strategically using words and silence to influence the balance of power in any social interaction. Psychologists such as Dr. Robert Greene, who is known for his work on power dynamics and manipulation, and communication experts like Dale Carnegie, who emphasize the importance of social influence, have extensively explored the psychology behind interpersonal relationships and the ability to sway others. By applying their insights, you can learn to craft savage replies that not only serve to defend yourself in social situations, but also place you in a position of control when someone tries to undermine or belittle you. Let's delve into several dark psychology strategies for mastering savage replies, enabling you to leave your opponents speechless and solidify your social power in any setting. Number 1, the power of the echo, repeating their words with a twist. A very effective tactic within dark psychology is to echo what someone says and twist it back at them in a way that highlights the flaws in their argument. When someone tries to insult or criticize you, you can repeat their words but alter them slightly to expose the absurdity or contradictions in what they are saying. This technique not only serves as a defense, but also shifts the burden onto the other person, forcing them to rethink, or defend their original statement. For instance, if someone calls you lazy, you could say, coming from someone who hasn't managed to accomplish half as much in twice the time, that's an interesting opinion. Here, you are not just defending yourself, you are flipping the script by implying that their own shortcomings make them unqualified to judge you. This kind of reply doesn't merely deflect the insult, but uses it as a tool to disarm and challenge the other person, ultimately putting them on the defensive and making their critique seem petty or unjustified. Number 2, use sarcasm to undermine their confidence. Sarcasm, when used correctly, can be a subtle yet powerful form of verbal sparring in dark psychology. It allows you to undermine another person's confidence without launching a direct attack. The key to using sarcasm effectively is in the delivery. The tone should be casual, and the remark should be delivered with a slight smile or a calm demeanor, which leaves the other person unsure if they have just been insulted or not. This ambiguity can erode their confidence and make them second guess their own words. For instance, if someone tries to give you unsolicited advice on a topic you know well, you might respond with, "Wow, I didn't realize we had an expert in the room. Please share more about your years of in-depth research on this." In this case, you are subtly pointing out that their qualifications are lacking while giving the impression that you are being polite. This type of sarcastic response can stop a person in their tracks, making them less inclined to continue their criticism, as they are left questioning whether they truly know enough to challenge you. Number 3, silent treatment, when no response is the best response. Sometimes the most devastating reply is no reply at all. In dark psychology, the silent treatment is a calculated technique used to manipulate social dynamics by withholding attention. When someone makes a comment or attempts to provoke you, and you choose not to respond, you are sending a powerful message. Their words do not matter enough to merit your reaction. This form of silence can be unsettling for the other person because it makes them feel ignored, insignificant, or desperate for your attention. The power of this tactic lies in the fact that humans naturally crave acknowledgement. When you deprive someone of that acknowledgement, you are effectively lowering their status in the social hierarchy. The silent treatment can create a sense of unease or anxiety in the person being ignored, often causing them to try harder to gain your attention, thereby shifting the power dynamics in your favor. This technique requires patience and a calm demeanor, as the urge to reply can be strong. However, mastering the strategic use of silence can enhance your social influence without the need for a single word. Number 4, redirect the insult. Turn their attack into a compliment. Another powerful dark psychology technique is to redirect an insult and turn it into a compliment. This approach serves a dual purpose. It deflects the negativity aimed at you and simultaneously makes the other person look foolish for attempting to insult you. By taking what was meant to be a put down and spinning it in a positive light, you are demonstrating resilience and confidence, traits that are often admired in social situations. For example, if someone says, "You're always so serious," you could respond with, "Yes, I take life seriously. That's how I get things done." This reply not only deflects the original comment, but reframes it in a way that casts you in a positive light, emphasizing your dedication and strong character traits. This kind of response subtly implies that their insult is insignificant, making them appear petty for even attempting to undermine you. It is a way of reclaiming the narrative and showing that you have control over how you are perceived. Number 5, the mirror technique. Reflecting their behavior back at them. The mirror technique involves mimicking the behavior or words of the person you are dealing with, reflecting back their actions in a way that forces them to confront the impact of their behavior. This dark psychology strategy is effective because it makes the other person see the absurdity or rudeness of their actions, often without you having to say much at all. For instance, if someone is constantly interrupting you during a conversation, you could start interrupting them in a similar manner. The goal here is not to be confrontational, but rather to subtly show them how their behavior feels from your perspective. This tactic can be very effective in social situations where someone is trying to dominate the conversation or disrespecting your position. By reflecting their behavior back at them, you are essentially holding up a mirror, forcing them to realize that their actions are inappropriate or irritating. The key to this technique is to maintain a calm and collected demeanor while mirroring their behavior, as it ensures that you remain in control of the situation. Number 6, tactical humor, diffusing tension with a cutting joke. In the realm of dark psychology, humor is not just for entertainment. It can be a tactical weapon used to diffuse tension while subtly undermining others. The strategic use of humor, especially cutting or sarcastic jokes, allows you to diminish someone's social status while still appearing friendly or lighthearted. This approach makes the other person the target of a joke, turning them into the punchline in a way that entertains those around you while subtly lowering their position in the social hierarchy. The power of tactical humor lies in its ability to criticize without directly confronting, making it difficult for the target to respond without appearing overly sensitive or defensive. For instance, if someone questions your intelligence or makes a belittling remark, you could respond with something like, "Well, I may not be a genius, but at least I don't feel the need to remind everyone of it every 5 minutes." Such a remark doesn't just respond to the insult, it twists it back on the person in a way that implies their need for validation, which can diminish their social standing. This type of humor works to diffuse tension because it lightens the mood while still delivering a pointed message, leaving the audience amused and your critic at a loss for words. Number 7, psychological projection. Accuse them of what they accuse you. Projection is a powerful dark psychology tactic that involves turning the tables on someone by accusing them of the same thing they accuse you of. This technique can be particularly effective because it introduces a level of confusion and self-doubt in the person making the accusation. When you reflect their criticism back at them, it forces them to question whether their accusation is actually a reflection of their own behavior rather than yours. For example, if someone calls you arrogant, a savage response would be, "That's interesting because I was just thinking the same about you." By saying this, you are implying that their accusation is baseless and may stem from their own insecurities. This approach not only deflects the criticism, but also puts them in a position where they need to defend themselves. The power of projection lies in its ability to subtly shift the focus of the conversation away from you and onto the other person, making them feel as if they are confronting a mirror of their own flaws. This can be disorienting for the person targeted, and can often leave them scrambling to clarify or justify their original statement. Number 8, use emotional detachment to appear unfazed. In dark psychology, displaying emotional detachment when confronted with an insult or criticism can be one of the most powerful ways to assert dominance in a social interaction. By showing no emotional reaction, you convey that the other person's words are insignificant and incapable of affecting you. This kind of composure can be unsettling for the person who is trying to provoke you because it communicates a level of confidence and control that is difficult to challenge. To enhance this effect, you can pair your lack of reaction with a dismissive or indifferent phrase, such as, "Is that supposed to bother me?" or "Nice try, but you'll have to do better than that." These kinds of responses imply that the person's attempt to unsettle or provoke you has failed entirely, reinforcing your position as unshakable and emotionally resilient. The more calm and composed you remain, the more power you project, as it signals that no amount of verbal attack can disrupt your self-assurance. This tactic is not just about avoiding a reaction, it's about using your lack of response to communicate that you are in control of the situation. Number 9, reverse the blame. Put the pressure back on them. Another effective dark psychology technique is to reverse the blame when someone criticizes or attacks you, effectively putting the pressure back on them. Instead of defending yourself, you shift the focus of the conversation by questioning why the other person feels the need to criticize or involve themselves in your actions. This tactic changes the dynamics of the exchange, as you are no longer the one justifying yourself. Instead, you are making them justify their interest or concern in the matter. For example, if someone criticizes you for not following a particular approach, you might respond with, "Why does it bother you so much how I choose to do things?" Or, "Why are you so concerned about my choices?" This type of reply forces the other person to reflect on their motivations and often puts them in a defensive position. It can also expose the fact that their criticism may not have been entirely objective, as it may be driven by their own biases or insecurities. By reversing the blame, you effectively redirect the attention away from yourself and make them the subject of scrutiny. Number 10, point out their hypocrisy. Call out inconsistencies. One of the most powerful ways to deliver a savage reply is by exposing the hypocrisy in someone's criticism. This approach involves pointing out any inconsistencies in their behavior or statements, thereby undermining the credibility of their argument. The effectiveness of this dark psychology tactic lies in its ability to invalidate the other person's criticism by highlighting that they themselves are guilty of the very thing they are accusing you of. For example, if someone accuses you of being rude, you could respond with, "That's quite rich coming from the person who just interrupted me." This type of reply exposes the fact that their accusation is not coming from a place of genuine concern or moral high ground, but rather from a contradictory position. By pointing out their hypocrisy, you not only disarm their criticism, but also make them appear insincere or self-serving, which can significantly weaken their standing in the conversation. It shifts the focus away from you and places the burden of justification back onto them, making it difficult for them to continue their attack. Number 11, use intellectual superiority. Dominate with logic and facts. One of the more sophisticated and calculated forms of savage replies involves using intellectual superiority to shut down someone's argument. This tactic requires you to respond with logic, facts, or well-thought-out reasoning, effectively dismantling the other person's position. By presenting evidence or rational arguments that contradict their claims, you make their criticism appear baseless or uninformed. For instance, if someone challenges your expertise or qualifications, you could calmly respond by listing your relevant accomplishments or explaining why their argument's flawed in detail. This approach does more than just counter their point. It positions you as the more knowledgeable and competent individual in the conversation. When others see that you are able to defend your position with facts and sound reasoning, it elevates your status and often leaves your critic with no reasonable response. The power of using intellectual superiority lies in its ability to not just win the argument, but also to demonstrate that you have a deeper understanding of the topic than your opponent. making them appear as though they were out of their depth from the start. By mastering these dark psychology techniques for savage replies, you can control the dynamics of social interactions, maintain dominance in conversations, and leave others in awe of your verbal skills. Crafting replies that are not only sharp but also strategically manipulative gives you an edge in personal and professional settings. So, if you're ready to wield these psychological tools and elevate your social game, make sure to subscribe for more insights on dark psychology, power dynamics, and verbal mastery.